Stacking UVs is a great way to save on texture space, and there's a handful of different ways you can do it. Kind of the easiest way would be if you had existing geometry and it already has an unwrap. What you can do is just grab that geometry, copy paste it, move it over, and now I have two pieces of geometry that have the exact same unwrap. So what happens if we have kind of an asset that has our desired UVs on it, and then over here we have a placed asset? So let's look at him. His UVs are different. So we want this asset and this asset to share the same UVs, but there's something special about this one that's making it to where we don't want to just copy paste it and move it over. Let's say this was intricately placed in one area, or possibly there's something else behind the scenes where this asset, the only thing we could do is change its unwrap. We couldn't actively replace it in any way. So what we could do is the first way would be to have this asset and this asset have a similar asset, or I'm sorry, a similar unwrap. So if we look at this guy, his mesh name is just called football, and this one is called football new. So what I want to do is give these guys the same unwrap. So I can do select UV border, and this will tell me how this guy's unwrapped. So I can kind of just copy this scenario over here. So I want to have a horizontal and a vertical line that go all the way through. Left click, hover over the 3D viewport, right click, and again, I got lucky with settings. You can kind of copy them over here, but now we have these four little plates that kind of correlate to these four little plates. So now what we're going to want to do is match these up. So this guy, let's actually have both of these meshes active at the same time. So I can click on him, hold shift, click on him, now they're both active. So this guy correlates to this one, so that would be this guy right here. So let's just move him up, rotate him, and place him in the corresponding spot over here. This one would be this upper left side. Again, this is a little tedious. So we'll match this here, get these ones out of the way. So again, this one correlates to this one correlates to this one. Now this one is going to correlate to this guy. And again, I'm just staggering these in the same way. So then this one has to equal this one. So now what we want to do is make sure that these are oriented correctly. So if I look over here, the top, let's grab just these two islands. Top set of polygons here. Oh, this one's upside down. So again, I looked at this portion and this portion. This one is on the bottom. So double click, rotate that 180 degrees. And I'm going to do the same thing for all four of these sections. So I want kind of the top where the strings are, these two match up, so they're good. This one and this one. Let's just do the bottom where it would be sitting on the ground. Bottom where it's sitting on the ground, this guy's upside down. And again, I'm never changing these ones over here. These are ones that I kind of want to leave as is and not modify. So this last one be this section. Bottom that sits on the ground, bottom that sits on the ground, this one we're all set. So again, now they kind of correlate to each other. So let's actually just hit the football new. So now this, it kind of shows up as a reference, and again, I can turn those on and off by clicking this little button right here. So the black wire frame in both of these cases is what's called the inactive mesh. Again, that's the one that I can't model. So now what I can do is place this guy on top of this guy. But the thing that I don't want you to do is just scale this up and just kind of eyeball it and say that this about right here is good enough. I mean, these two sets of UVs are stacked on top of each other, but they're not really lined up perfect. So I'm going to actually speed up the video and stack these all on top of each other real quick. There we go. That didn't take too long. So the other thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this has the same material as this guy. So again, this one is our correct football. This is our kind of modified one that we're trying to match. So if I look at this, overall, if I just look at it from this angle, everything is lining up pretty good. But if I zoom in here, I can see where things just kind of aren't lining up perfect. And again, depending on what your unwrap is, again, this one's kind of way off. But depending on how your unwrap is and what your texture is, this could be more of a problem. It just, again, it depends. Probably if this was in a game and the ball was really small on screen or something, it wouldn't be a big deal. But ideally, I don't want to have you guys leave your unwraps this messy. I've seen this in the industry a lot. Some people can do it and get away with it, but realistically, you just want to take that extra step to get these looking a little bit better. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this guy right here. So let's go ahead and move these out of the way. We're going to use this as a reference for these guys. So we're going to snap all of these vertices over here on the football new to the football old in a sense. I'm just going to undo that, get these back on top of each other. So now what I'm going to do is if I hit the X key or click on this little guy right here, snapping is going to come up. And then I can grab a vertex, and then if I want, so I have the move tool active, this little snapping tool is right here. So this is everything that Moto can snap to. So right now we just want to have vertices selected. Everything else can be pretty much turned off, at least in this top section. So now what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that my widget, the little plus, is right on top of this. So what I can do is turn the widget tool off, turn it back on, and it should show up right here. The other thing you might need to do is this action center. Either have it set to none or automatic, either or, but regardless, we just want, if I zoom in on this, our widget is kind of right there. Because that's really what's going to be snapping is our widget, which is on our vert, is going to snap to this vert. So left click and drag, you see it snapped right there. So then I can drop the move tool, grab a new vertex, hit W to move, snap. Drop the tool, grab, W, snap. You can see this is going to kind of take a while. So just a few tips and tricks. If I grab a vertex, hit W to move, I can move it into place. But now what I'm going to do is hold down the W key. The W key is the hotkey for move. W key is currently held down. Now I'm going to grab a new vertex. It selects the vertex, let go of W, and I can move it. So hold, select, let go, move. Hold, select, let go, move. So this is a little bit faster way of doing it. But let's speed this up one more step. Over here on the deform tab is this little guy right here called element move. And again, snapping is still turned on. I'm going to hit element move. Now I'm just going to zoom in. So now whatever I hover over, if it's a polygon, if it's an edge, if it's a face, it'll turn cyan. That means I can kind of select anything I want. I can select any element and make it move. So left click, drag, snap. Left click, drag, snap. So I really don't even need to zoom in. I can just snap, 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 snap. And again, you can see if you had something that had a lot of vertices in it, this might end up taking you a while. So let's go over a new way of doing this that'll be a little bit faster, because again, I'm not going to snap all these manually. So this new tool that I'm going to show, it might not be in other software, so this way of snapping and moving might be something that you need to rely on if you're in another software. It just depends. But let's do this new tool. So let's have both of our both of our meshes active. So click on one, hold shift, click on the other one. Let's zoom in so we can see both of these. And let's also jump into the UV tools tab. And the other thing I'm going to do actually is, we know right now that these two aren't lined up. What I'm going to do is grab this whole football and just slightly move it over to the right and down a little bit, so you can kind of see these in a different light. Other thing I'm going to do is actually, let's do, show polygons and fill overlap. So you can see this area right here is a little bit more opaque than this area here, but we can kind of see bottom right is going to be the footballs. Let's actually scale those down a little bit as well. So let's scale them locally. There we go. So we can see over here, this football is all kinds of messed up. This one's fine. is actually hidden in this little menu right here. So I'm in Utilities, Edit UVs, and what we want is this little grayed out guy right here. It's called Transfer UV Position. So how we're going to use him is I kind of have to have a handful of criteria available for this to happen. So I need two meshes. The meshes need to have absolute identical geometry. They can't have one polygon that's different. They both need to have an existing UV map. So again, these ones, the UV map is called texture for the unwrap. And then what we're going to do is there's a way that we have to kind of select polygons on these in the right order to make this work. And this is kind of you confirming that these meshes are the same. So what we're going to do is on the good mesh, we're going to select two polygons, any two polygons that are touching. And then on the corresponding mesh, or the other mesh, we're going to select those same corresponding polygons in the exact same order. So let's go here. We have this little plus here. So I'm going to do 1, 2, zoom out, go over to our other football, go right here, hold shift, click 1, 2. So we have the same two polygons, both selected on the same mesh in the same order, and each mesh is exactly the same. So again, a lot of stipulations for this to work. Edit UVs, transfer UV position, click, and you'll see this guy, deselect that, just snapped right into place over here. So now if I select football new, grab this, and just move it over a tiny bit, we can see that it effectively snapped all of our vertices in the exact same position on the exact same mesh. So again, really powerful, really cool tool. Let's see that again one more time. I'm just going to do a project from view. So we have kind of a horrible unwrap on this. Scale it down, put it right here. So I'm going to select two different polygons. So let's grab 1, 2, zoom out, hold shift and click, 1, 2. So again, as long as the two polygons are touching each other, edit UVs, transfer UV position, and we have this guy unwrapped exactly like this guy. Again, this one didn't even need the same cuts. And we had this version right here. It actually didn't have any cuts. It was just projected straight on. And again, just to show another example of this, unwrap, right click. Now this is just a big, huge mess. So switch to polygons. We'll select two different ones. So 1, 2. Go over here, 1, 2, exact same corresponding polygons. Edit UVs, transfer UV position, and they snap into place. Really amazing tool.